Hello, good evening. Have you ever felt like this? My name is, of course, is Aaron Twist. I'm joined by my long cast-off sibling, Gabriel Twist.
I'm the twist that they keep in the basket, and twist is a fairly accurate description of my physiology.
I'm Twist at the end of a movie. I'm often used by M. Night Shyamalan literally every turn possible. He goes and orders a muffin, and at the last possible moment, as they go to give him his muffin, he's like, I would like a banana bread instead.
No,
You did not
bread.
see that coming.
I mean, but the thing about him is, though, you do. Like, that's, a deviation has to be...
When a deviation is all the time, that's
Then
not
it's
the
just
deviation, that's the normality.
It's just an eviation. And that's fucking stupid. No one pays to see that.
Especially not me. I mean, I personally go pay M. Night every time I see a movie. I go to his house. I give him...
I could just stand for Moon Knight.
$5.
Like, he could be like that Marvel hero that has like the fucking Egypt in his head or something.
We can't disprove it.
Yeah, that's true. And if you can't do that, then it's true.
His name is Khonshu.
Okay.
That's the god that he sort of has to follow.
Well, that's the K in Knight. So M. Khonshu Knight. I don't know what Shyamalan is yet. Maybe that's his sidekick.
Anyway, this is a podcast about Round the Twist.
As you can tell.
We're getting to the twist, and that twist is we're actually talking about the episode.
This one is the Great Spaghetti Pigout.
No, it's just Spaghetti Pigout.
Isn't it? I thought it was Great Spaghetti Pigout.
No. That's what they call it in the show. They call it the Great Spaghetti.
But then the episode itself is just Spaghetti
Pigout, yes.
Oh, well, fuck them for doing me like that. You know what the weird thing about this episode is? Yeah, it's called the Spaghetti Pigout. And yeah, there is a Spaghetti Pigout in the episode. But I also feel like there's something else in the episode that is technically more interesting and probably warrants more attention.
100%. Which, as the episode begins and the title sequence cuts in, the lighthouse is struck by lightning. You see it travel down into the TV and into the remote.
Yeah.
And then the words Spaghetti Pigout appear with a fork twisted with spaghetti. And that's how the episode starts. So we're all at the bat, we know something kooky's going on.
Yeah, that is not a familiar brand of remote either. Because it's like a rectangle with some computer buttons on it.
That's the kind that you bought at Crazy Clark's?
In like 1989.
Yeah.
It's like something that was only ever made in like Belarus when that was still part of the USSR. And like even they didn't like it. They were like, oh yeah, this is kind of crap. It's like bad enough to bring about the fall of communism itself. People were like, hey, yeah, this is an inferior product. You can't just put computer keys into what looks like a block of congealed Vegemite and then point it at stuff and expect it to work. They obviously didn't understand that you needed like very specifically lighthouse lightning in that fucker.
Now, this episode, do you know any facts about it? Was it a previous story or was it made for...
This one was really like in a lot of ways almost fucking identical to I think it was in Uncanny. Hang on, I'll look it up. Where is it? Where are you, thing? Yeah, Uncanny. You know, there were a few little differences, obviously, like the thing about Around the Twist being, what it is it like they'll chop and change characters. So instead of being a guy who lives in a lighthouse called Pete and he was trying to get a mountain bike, it was a kid called Matthew and it was like a trip to England or something.
Right.
And, the main villain was like a bully called Guts Garvey, who forces other kids at his school not to be friends with Matthew. The remote control is not struck by lightning, but is purchased at with an odd-looking video machine by Matthew's father. All right. So yeah, there's just a few little differences that they just fucking, jam. They jam Pete and Gribble and Rabbit and, whatever his name is, Bunyip Face, into it and, But I think like, it's kind of like, this one's just like a special effects laden extravaganza, Yeah. Like, I don't think there's some other, you could like wrestle a theme or two out of some of these earlier episodes, Like raising green babies is difficult and, anything can be a ghost. You don't need to bring your prejudices into this.
Yeah.
Grass you can have the ghost of grass. Imagine mowing the lawn and the ghost of grass was still there and you just had phantom grass. And
I don't fuck that,
you'd
man.
get ectoplasm on you,
Well,
which is kind of like what grass does anyway.
It depends. If it looked nice and calming, like, Studio Ghibli, if it was Studio Ghibli, like spirit grass,
Yeah, like
yeah, for
weirdly
sure. That would be like whimsical and magical.
weird haunted grass.
My girlfriend would get turned into a pig. Like, it's how it goes,
Be fine. Well,
That's the next step.
I ate the haunted food too.
Yeah. I mean, you'd turn into a giant mushroom.
Yeah, I want to. So, yeah, I like because you can kind of chart human technology in its fiction by like what's weird and magic. Like for a while the X-Men, it was kind of like radiation, and then it was like, oh yeah, as we all got used to the background radiation, it's just like now it's like genetic engineering and shit. So like these things will shift as whatever new technology is giving us the willies shifts too. And I find this very quaint because it's like made in 1990, and it's just the idea of like lightning kind of being magic is very retro. Like that's some like that's 1940s shit. That's like pre-Sputnik stuff, Once Sputnik and like all that stuff happened, it was like, oh yeah, there's like space and radiation, and then there was atomics, and now it's like we're pretty much just making a lot of dystopian fiction. But like here they are going, oh yeah, God, well, isn't lightning amazing? Like isn't electricity nuts? God, what would happen if you put electricity into like a remote control? Like it'd just control everything because that's like fucking just how, that's how electricity works. It's some kind of wizard.
So what the episode does it start with them announcing the spaghetti pig out?
Yeah.
That's the next scene, right?
Yeah, they're at school.
Yeah, and so we get Tiger's been showing a lot of initiative.
I like Tiger. I'm just gonna come right out and say it. I'm a fan of Tiger.
You're a Tiger fan? Okay.
Yeah, because I get like it was one of the earlier episodes where he the rules matter to Tiger. Gribble's a bully. Rabbit's just a follower. Gribble feels small and needs to like stand on others to feel big. So he does things per a kind of animal cruelty. Rabbit is like Tiger is just there. But like, he's kind of along for the ride as well. But within him there's this like he's not chaotic in any way. The rules matter.
Yeah.
So like when Pete managed to get the fucking, skull, that was it. Like there is no we're just going to betray you and not give a shit. It's like, no, that matters.
Yeah.
And like, that comes up again a little later in this episode. Not like majorly, but the idea does pop up that like, Rabbit, I'm going to call him Rabbit. That's because they called the big one Rabbit. And that was, I think
they
that
did
was
it on purpose to trick you.
That was some kind of attempt at humor, and I don't appreciate that. I like my big,
it.
We got Rabbit announcing his, damn it! I'm going to have 6 separate strokes before I get this right. Tiger. Little fucking, because he looks even rabbity. He's kind of pale. He looks like a lab rabbit,
They did it on purpose, dude. I'm telling you.
He's some kind of
But we're going to get to why they're called their names in a sec. Anyway, that's why I wrote down.
Broke me.
I wrote down. So the third annual Great Spaghetti Pigout, and the prize for winning this is a 10-speed bicycle, which has been donated by Gribble's father.
Yeah, Gribble's dad. A 10-speed's like back when you were a kid. Back before fucking electric scooters and shit, like a 10-speed was a big deal because all anyone mostly had was 5 speeds.
Oh, yeah.
And they were like, they had 10 speeds, but like they were the fucking, the racing bikes that are really skinny and weird. Yeah. And a kid couldn't ride one of those. That's just.
Did I ever tell you about the time my grandmother tried to ride one of those?
Because like.
So I was riding to school for the first time, and my Oma was visiting. And my father thought it'd be wise to send her on the way with me on a racing bike, a road bike. It hit a small stone, flung her over the handlebars. We hadn't even left our street. No, you can laugh. It was very funny.
How? Okay, when we're talking old lady, are we talking like one of those ones that's a little durable, or are we at the point where she's kind of like bones with sort of like a loose
She was
sack
durable
around it.
enough, you know.
Well, she
like,
survived, I suppose.
yeah, like definitely over 40, but probably 40 plus. Not sure, but yeah, she went over the handlebars. These things are not made for.
No, they're made,
made
for
for the
those.
road.
Yeah, they're made
Very
for those
smooth
weird
road.
thigh dudes.
Yeah.
You know, like that's a strange one. I always kind of feel bad for that. You know, like because there are some forms of athletics that just make you very generally fit, like gymnastics. You know, some that make you kind of specifically fit, but still, you know, kind of useful. And then there's things where it's just like you're getting turbo fit in a way that is useless and almost self-destructive, like arm wrestlers. That's sad. That's fucking depressing.
That's weird, yeah, man.
And then there's like cyclists, and it's like, all right, you're effectively like just an engine with a bit of face, and you get these like giga thighs. It's like that's kind of cool, I suppose.
Dude, my uncle used to do triathlons. And
At least that involves some other skills.
But still, man, like that's not good on the body.
Yeah,
like
nah.
you are what, cycling, what, 10K, swimming, whatever, you know, running. It's just, that's nuts to me. One of those activity takes all day. That's not all three in one day.
Yeah, I mean, like, at least I get at least though, like, because there's a difference between those guys and the guys that do like the Tour de France.
Oh yeah,
because you look at their thighs and that's all it is.
Didn't old mate have to sacrifice his balls to do it? Isn't that what he took out his balls and gave himself steroids?
Yeah, he did give himself some steroids
because he was found out.
Yeah, he got busted. I mean, I think the problem is like once you get to these sports, like, you know, like because we're getting to the top here.
There's a peak.
Yeah, like
there's only so far you can go natural.
There is a physical limit to how fast a human being can run, to how fast, and like I'm all for finding.
Occasionally, there is freaks of nature that are born just
yeah.
different, like Usain Bolt.
Yeah, like that's the thing is we're getting down to freak territory now, where we have to not only find people who are willing to work really hard, but also they have to have like just that little bit at the start, you know. Because there'll be a lot of those people, but they're just hard to find, you know. Because like, why would you think I'm going to be like? At no point would you just sort of think, I might have a really good gait for sprinting.
It's crazy because I think about it a lot. How such as cricketers, like the bowlers, they're destroying their bodies.
Oh yeah.
Like it is physically, just ripping them apart, and that's why we pay them exorbitant amounts of money to entertain us.
Yeah,
but it's just like when you think about it, that's very fucky.
The fucking stomp at the end of the fastball, where it's just like, like I look at it, every time I look at that, it's like,
you just see the shoulder and the knees, and you're like, oh, that's
that's
too
another
much.
one of those things. Yeah, it's just one thing that you're gonna rip your body to pieces for doing. And again, it's like the eaters, you know. Except the weird thing is like, you know, when you think about competitive eaters, you think, oh, you're fat guys, because like, duh. But then all of them are tiny, and I'm kind of baffled by that.
They take that energy and their body doesn't conserve it. It just burns and goes.
Yeah, it's got to be that. Because a lot of them are on YouTube now. And you can watch them train. And again, like I'll, you know, work out and then be hungry. And I don't mean like just fat Westerner hungry. I mean like fucking, I got to actually eat. And I'll eat a fair bit, but then like, I think, wow, that was a lot. And then you see the amount of shit these things put away just as a fucking, you know, just for fun. And it's like, you don't even, like there's video of me trying to eat those nuggets. And I realized like, you know, maybe like a dozen. It's like, oh God. And then you look at like what these mutants do, and it's just like they get that, they get sides, they get a box of chicken on top of that, and they're just happy as Larry, and they're going. And it just doesn't seem to go anywhere. And I feel like that's cheating in some way.
So there was some banter between the classmates, and this line struck me very odd. I don't know if you, I don't know if you wrote this down.
You probably wrote down what I wrote down.
Yeah. So Rabbit is behind Pete. And he leans forward and he goes, oh, I could do you like at dinner. And it's said very low and sensually.
It is. It's a bit off. Yeah, because so like, it's in the context of like.
Also, what does that mean?
Yeah. It's in the context of, you know, they've announced that there's a competition and it's just kind of happened that like, you know, Rabbit said something, or I think Gribble said something about Rabbit being good at it. And then Pete's decided to step in and testicles have taken in control.
Yeah, because they announce off, oh, Rabbit, you kill this because you know you're
a big fat guy,
you're a big eater, and Pete,
and then
Pete was trying to impress Fiona. Let me tell you straight, most girls are not going to be impressed by you going, I can stuff my face so much,
love me. Yeah, that's not, especially like spaghetti.
No,
it's not an attractive food to eat. Like, by all means, like, because you can't just You have to. This is the thing about like impressing women is they have personalities, and you have to learn what those are. Because if you don't, you're gonna do weird, dumb shit that's just completely incompatible. It's like how you can't put like an American SNES cartridge into a Western SNES. It just doesn't work. You have to know what they're interested in, and then you can like impress them that way. You can't just go, I'm gonna eat like 10 bowls of spaghetti in front of them, because all you are then is a bloated pile of carbs.
So I googled.
Do you
I
like a
tried to
dinner?
find. Yeah, the phrase is "done like dinner." You know, that's which means utterly defeated or outwitted. It's an Australian. It's informal. But do you like a dinner? I cannot find that.
No, well, I mean,
I think that's wrong.
it's an adaptation of it to make it like active as opposed to past tense.
which it just doesn't work.
Yeah, it doesn't. Like, because you can say you are done with dinner, but you can't. I mean, I suppose there are more modern contexts where you could go, I'm going to go do dinner, but it doesn't. Do in terms of food doesn't imply eating to me.
Yeah, because if I say, "Do you like a dinner?" What am I doing? What is the action there?
Well, you're doing me, and you're doing me like a dinner.
Yeah.
And it's like, are you going to eat me?
Yeah, because I can
I mean,
do
the
multiple
best
things
I can
to
come
a
up with
dinner.
is the best I can come up with is finish me.
Yeah.
Which is like, there's just a lot of better ways to do this that don't make you sound like a food fucker.
I could just say, "Nah, mate, you'll be done like dinner." There you go. Done.
Yeah.
Holy
No,
sh-
that absolutely
holy balls,
100% works. Yeah, you'll be done like dinner. It's like, yeah, dinners are frequently done. And I don't have to think about rabbit humping like a fucking, Cole's chicken.
No, and so to this,
Which he does.
they're all saying, rabbit, and Tiger says, "I can't enter. Doctor's orders.
Yeah.
Have to rest my mouth." And
He does talk a lot, that kid.
I'm just thinking, no, like Tiger and Rabbit are lovers.
They should be.
Because
if
there's a moment of fear later in the episode for Rabbit, for when Tiger's a bit afraid for Rabbit, and it just I can see it. I can see the sensitivity there.
Tiger contains multitudes. If I get my way and get to completely control a reboot of Round the Twist, I, in honor of your fan theory, will make Tiger and Rabbit completely gay balls
Thank
for
you.
each other.
Thank you.
It'll be very tasteful.
Excellent. We can call it fully Round the Twist.
Just shit's fucked. That's. And I'll finally get to play my theme my way.
And I'll get to play Nell.
Yeah, you'll be Nell.
I can put on a wig. Hello. I don't hear anything. There you go.
All right. So we've established basically what the core of the plot is. There is going to be an eating competition between Pete and Rabbit. And so then, naturally, because horny dad has this like weird thematic connection to whatever's going on via the medium of art, he is stealing basically. I mean, it's not what I'd call good art. It is stunt art at best. Like, so basically what he's doing is he's creating effectively a collage out of foodstuffs. And for anybody who's around my generation, they may be aware of the famous Broken Hill painter who was born in Broken Hill in like the 1920s and then died in Broken Hill in like the early 2000s. And God, I hope he left at least once. Called Kevin Hart, who you may went by it's not a stage name exactly, went by the name Pro Hart. So you may remember, he did an ad for Stainmaster Carpets where he like did a dragonfly but made it out of cakes and shit that he shot with a shotgun and stuff. He was also kind of insane and painted stuff to do with the Illuminati, which I find very funny.
Interesting.
Yeah, I was kind of like trying to look up a little more depth on that earlier because he painted this thing called Land Rights, and it's like, there's some interesting like work in it, but it's also like there's just strange Illuminati iconography and like also like Communist Party iconography in it, and it's just like, you look at this, it's like, what are you saying? Because like my first read of it was like the Illuminati are using, the Illuminati are like using Aboriginal land rights to sell Australia to communists or something along those lines. And I'm trying to find like more on it.
I don't think you're gonna.
I'll get back to that, but yeah. So that's that. There is a definite a pro heart element to Dad Twist.
Tony making baked bean art.
Basically, yeah. That's
because there's a lot of baked beans on it.
Yeah, yeah. It's a food stuff collage, and it is. I mean, you're working hard to make that anything more than dumb novelty art. Like,
I
you
hope
can make
he's
it.
not selling that. because
you'd have to
it's
cover it with acrylic.
fresh. So we'd have to somehow harden it, and you can't cover an arrow diet.
Well, see, that's the thing is now we're getting more into the realms of performance art, and you see, like, taken as a whole, like a image of a dragonfly, regardless of how quite good it is, made out of cakes you blast with a shotgun. The image by itself is really little more than a novelty.
Right.
The process of its creation, combined with that, brings it up a tad.
Okay.
But then you're appreciating it as a performance
I
less than
I understand that like that, but he's got to sell these things,
yeah.
you know?
Well, that and it's derivative at
Yeah.
least. Like, and yeah, now we're introduced to a cat that hasn't made any fucking. I swear I haven't seen it in the background.
This
or anything.
cat, like, it might have been in the background and stuff, but it's never mentioned by name or anything.
Feel free to correct us on the on like the email or something, but like,
Feel free to correct us if you're bold enough.
yeah, bear in mind I am irrationally hostile to ever being corrected or addressed. So,
I did see you headbutt a homeless man by just looking you in the eye.
Well,
That was a good headbutt too.
Don't make eye contact. That's it sets me on edge.
Yeah, the cat stands on the remote.
Yeah, and then
It hits a fly.
and then the fly's on fast forward.
And it goes nuts. It's and the family notice. They're watching it. It's zipping around as they're
The thing is,
doing what they're doing.
I've had, because you know how there are like basically two kinds of fly in this country? There's like the ones you get in the house, and then there's these fucking maniac fucking outside flies that you don't even think about. Like, every now and then we get one of them in the house, and I don't know where they come from, and I'm determined to murder all of them. Because like our backyard is mostly fucking spider webs, so it's like I feel like that should be dealing with this problem, but it doesn't.
These are the ones that evolved to get through.
Yeah, they can probably like, because these things are fucking big.
Are they blowflies?
Huh?
Are they blowflies?
Yeah, I think they're blowflies. Like, I don't know what like rates.
They're the big fuckers.
Yeah. Well, yeah. So they're big fuckers, and like they're really loud and they're really fucking stupid. But fuck, they go ape shit, man. And it's like the difference. Like I was watching that when we were watching the fly go around. It's just like that's just a fucking fly, man. I wouldn't be able to tell the difference between a fly and a fly on fast forward.
Yeah, no.
I mean, it did break a window and escape.
That's After a little bit, he builds up steam and smashes the window.
That's the speed force.
And the music. I'm gonna be real with you. I did not enjoy this episode for sound. The music gave me a headache. It was just the pitch.
It's leaning too far in the wacky trumpet territory. You know, like it's just being a bit overdone. And I think when you combine that with this episode, which is a very fast-paced, special effects-laden blockbuster, it's like you're giving me sugar on top of chocolate.
Yeah.
You know, it's like one of these at a time. You can put sugar on something else. You can give me chocolate, but you can't just, no one's like, oh yeah, here, and then gives you a slab of Cadbury and then like put some fucking raw sugar on it. Because that's feral.
Yeah, I wrote down music is nasty.
Yeah.
Because it was going, there was an awful clang as well that was added in at times, and it was just completely off.
Someone was going a bit hard at the ABC's fucking audio.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the cat gets, the fly goes berserk and leaves. And I think, it was at this point that the kid started to suspect something? No, that's right. Pete sat down and was just using the remote.
Yeah.
Oh no, wait, because we went to fucking.
We went to the kids.
Sorry, yeah, I'm editing two scenes together.
You're skipping parts
For clarity.
Yeah. So the kids are like, well, we've got to see what the opposition's up to. Bronson's like, we got to check on them. So they go to spy.
Spy on your opponent's training camp. That's
a really good idea.
Legitimate
And
strategy.
We come into a barn.
Yeah, and that barn hasn't been established at all yet.
No.
Like, so there's just, again, they're just, a barn is enough of a thing that I feel like you need to explain why we're in a barn, Like, it's not like this is Australia in the 21st century. We haven't all just had barns in the yard for like at least the past 5 years. So like, you got to be telling me like, okay, why are they, because they got fucking, what is it?
They've got Rabbit in the barn.
Yeah.
With a sack over him.
That was a weird detail.
So he doesn't, like, using like a bib, and they're just force feeding him.
Yeah. And it's like, when we say spaghetti, one might imagine something that tastes nice, because it's just like weird strings of like wheat that like we boil and then you got to add something to that to make it not just be sad. And if you give a shit, there's a lot of really nice things you can add to that. It's a source delivery system is what we're talking about here. But like their spaghetti is like, there were these POV kids that lived up the street from me in Goodna, and their idea of spaghetti was like Maggi 2-minute noodles, but without the flavor sachets, and then mixed with just regular like black and white brown tomato sauce. And I don't mean the cans of shit that you're supposed to put in. I mean the stuff you put on sausages.
Yeah.
And that's what this looked like.
That's
it was just tin spaghetti, which is like very fucking bleak. We're not talking about a nice bolognese.
And they're in a barn, so you know it's cold.
Barn spaghetti.
Yeah, there's no microwave in the barn.
Cold barn spaghetti. I feel like I could get a poem out of that sentence. You know, that's
Cold
yeah.
barn spaghetti.
I'm gonna dust off my fucking Charles
Dripping
Bukowski
through
knockoffs.
my hands. Cold barn spaghetti. It's almost better than flan.
I'd be going much bleaker.
Yeah. So the
Something
kids
about
have,
suicide.
the kids have found what's up. They're feeding him. We go back to the lighthouse, and you know what I want to know, dude?
Yeah.
What the fuck kind of computer does Bronson have?
I think
'Cause
he
he's
built
got
himself.
hooked up Pete to
Yeah.
electrodes, going to the computer, and the computer is telling him he's like not eating enough
Fast enough
and stuff, and it's printing out, and Bronson's reading it, and I'm like, that does not exist in that age.
I mean,
Especially not Bronson cannot build that. You cannot tell me he is a genius.
he might be like one of those.
He's
like,
an idiot savant.
Yeah, like I'm thinking like Spurgy, because he's got that thing where he just seems really stupid about everything except computers. And it's like, all right, I feel like I'm diagnosing something that 1980s Australia just wasn't prepared to do. You know, I feel like that's where we're
It's
at.
just such an odd detail for them to have this supercomputer.
Well, again, it's, you know, and I think this is adjacent to electricity is magic, is that old boomer thing of computers are magic.
I guess, yeah.
Like you've got a computer, it just, like you can tell it like, make me eat spaghetti faster, computer. And like the computer will understand that. I mean, you can probably do that today. Like you could probably tell fucking, hey Siri, how do I eat like spaghetti quicker or some shit? You've got
well,
Siri.
I'm gonna try
No,
that.
let's see. I'm curious. Let's do an experiment.
Let's see. Hey Siri, how do I eat spaghetti faster? We've got fastest time to eat a bowl of pasta from Guinness World Book of Records and how to cook pasta faster.
It's disappointingly close on 2 separate counts, but it's not what we want. Siri, you have disappointed me. Cut me a switch that I may lash you. I tell you what though, because they do that whole sequence with the spaghetti training, like the fucking institute level training. But then as part of like the process of like, and this is something that I consider is probably actually training. Pete's at the top of the lighthouse. Bronson has tied like a whole pack of spaghetti together. And Pete's sucking the spaghetti up from the top of the lighthouse, like from the bottom. So like the spaghetti's in a bucket at the bottom of the lighthouse and Pete's sucking it up. And it's like, you know, that's probably got to be good for like the sucking muscles, which, you know, I mean, I don't think I eat that much spaghetti. I just get it on my fork and jam it in my fucking mouth. You don't really need to suck it that much these days, I suppose. Maybe I'm getting the wrong spaghetti. I don't know. But I'd watch someone eat spaghetti like that. Like if someone was like, I've got this, like if I was on YouTube and like there was a thing saying, I eat a bucket of spaghetti from a lighthouse, I'd at least see where that was going.
Dude, anything involving a lighthouse, I'd probably see where it's going.
Yeah.
Because they're not common.
No, it is one of those things. It's just like, oh yeah, that's fucking interesting. I got to see what's going on there.
So there's the music interrupts. Pete hears the music.
Oh,
Again, the weird
the
music.
Phantom, yeah.
And he drops the spaghetti.
God, I'm looking forward to the payoff on that. I hope it's not disappointing.
Oh, dude, it's been building. It's been building so hard. Now, this part slayed me. So Bronson has the megaphone that he's yelling to Pete and training with Pete, and he turns it to talk to Nell.
Who's just
and it's
wandered up out of the Nell
in
dimension
her
again.
ear. Just right there. And he deafens her, and she doesn't say a word. She just looks directly sort of blank space towards the camera.
Yeah, she's not looking. It's not looking at the viewer. It's looking through the viewer because Her brains are gone now.
Yeah, and it just cuts shortly after, and that broke me.
No, that I think that little bit there is indicative of the pacing of this, because like it's just like, okay, here's the next bit. Okay, here's the next.
She
bit.
wasn't even a character that was in the story
What
at
are you
all.
kids?
Yeah, yeah. Literally, she's only in this story for one other thing, which we'll get to shortly.
Yeah.
So we go inside,
Yeah. So Pete's resting his sucking muscles.
and he hits pause.
Yeah.
And it hits the cat.
Yeah.
And the cat's name is Smells Bad. I
Bad
think?
smell.
Bad Smell. Yeah, which is a bad name for a cat.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, you'd want to hyphenate that, but
Tony checks out the cat. He listens to it. It's got no heartbeat.
yeah.
He says it's dead. And that's fair.
They have him picking up a taxidermized cat
Yeah.
in the meantime. When they initially pause the cat, and something that is generally a running thing in this is they just hard pause the video. It's like, fair enough. I don't know what I'm expecting them to do, but it is really like, the problem is with that kind of like grainy old fucking, videotape that Australia was recording on, combined with like a 4K television. It's just, it grinds to a halt like a Hanna-Barbera backdrop.
It's
Like
very noticeable.
So the cat's paused, and then it's a taxidermized cat. And they go to tell, like, Dad Twist goes to tell Nell that
Because
the
it's
cat's
Nell's
dead.
cat, apparently. And again, we're just learning this now.
Yeah, it's funny too, because I feel like Nell shows up like more than the cat does, but in a very cat way.
Yeah.
Like I expect to just see a cat around.
Maybe she's soul linked with it.
That's possible.
So Pete, the smart cookie he is, straight away says, "Hey, it's the remote." He works it out, which annoys me because, like, in past episodes, they make them dumb and they wander around for a while.
Yeah, I mean, like it's one of those things that's hard to balance because, like, on the one hand, I do like that he just immediately figured out magic remote. Because if I'd been dealing with like fucking dragons and like fucking seagull ghosts, that'd be my first thought too. I'd be like, oh sweet, magic remote. And like, it is good that he does that, but then yeah, you just know that like that's gonna fuck up like their ability to do mysteries in the future, because it's like, oh, what's doing this? It certainly can't be the big gem I found outside or whatever the shit. Like,
And the kids, being kids who have just found a magic fucking object, fight over it.
a time manipulator.
Bronson takes it. Linda struggles with him and tries to take it off him, and Linda gets frozen.
Yeah.
So straight away, the kids are up to mischief. Nell comes in with the dad, and the cat's unfrozen because Pete unpaused it. And Nell's like, "Oh, it's not dead.
Yeah.
Perfectly fine." Toad's like, "It's heart stopped," and it's like, "Yeah,
Yeah, I listened to it. You can, if you put your ear to a cat, you can hear things.
Now they leave. The music intensifies, and Linda falls over, which is great.
Like there were times when she was on the floor, she was a paused JPEG.
Yeah,
When she was standing up, it was clearly just like the actress being as still as she could.
yeah.
And she didn't do a
good
bad
job.
job. Yeah, like it is very hard to stand like still.
Especially when you're being conscious of it.
Yeah, and like there's just stuff going on around you as well. Like,
And this part, she gets unpaused, and she's just slightly confused about where she is. And this is what gets me. What happens if you get paused? Where do you go?
I'm guessing it's just like, see, because like I researched this because I used to like drink heavily, and I was wondering maybe like if I'd ever get like the blackouts back, like I might get like as I'm dying, my life flashes before my eyes. I get like, oh yeah, and here's the DVD extras. I'd be like, oh, that's neat. And it turns out no, because like when you're in a blackout, what's happening is your brain is not making memories.
Right.
So it's just gone. Like it wasn't being recorded, so it's gone. And I'm assuming it's just like that. It's just got to be like someone edited your day,
I think she goes to a squeamish, hellish place where her soul is tormented.
It's the same place the Event Horizon went to. I feel like there might be some crossover with Quantum Leap. Like Al may show up and be
I'm
like,
always up for a Quantum Leap crossover.
What I loved about that sequence is it ends with Pete going, "That thing's dangerous," because it is staggeringly, mind-bogglingly dangerous.
And what is the first thing they do with it?
Go fuck with Dad.
Yup.
I kind of understand this because one time my brother and I found like the guts of one of those old rotary phones. Not like the turny kind, like the real old ones that you had to like twirl and
Yeah.
you know,
The
talk
cup
to
ones.
yeah, talk to Mavis down
Yeah.
at the fucking thing.
Mavis.
Yeah.
Switch me to Gerald.
Yeah, that. Like we had one of those, except it wasn't a phone anymore. It was just like a generator that ended in two wires after a really long stretch of wire. And so we realized we kind of had like this sort of pocket taser thing. But like we didn't really know what we were going to do with it. We could make like if we put the wires close to each other and spun it really fast, we could get it to spark really well, and that was kind of cool. But then like we're bored, so Dad's asleep, and we decide like, oh yeah, we're gonna go fucking we'll just electrocute Dad mildly and see what that does because we're children, we wanted to learn. And so one of us was tasked with the unenviable job of like holding the wires on Dad while the other one twisted it. And somehow, and I don't remember how, but that became my job. But then when I got up to Dad's foot, like he had kind of like his big toenail was like outcropping a bit, and I realized I could just stuff the wires under there. So we put like electrical wires under Dad's toenail, and then went back over to where the generator was, and my little brother just spun that shit for like he was trying to win the grand prize. And it's only from my perspective as an adult now that I realized we stuck electrical cables under my father's toenails and just electrocuted him. And that's some North Korea shit.
Yeah.
And like, I have to accept that I did that. And I have to accept then that like, that thing's dangerous. Let's go immediately send father into a time void is like, yeah, I can't exactly call that out too loudly now.
I mean, they did pause him while he was welding.
I feel
now that is a bit dangerous.
We didn't electrocute Dad while he was in the middle of, wielding a hot torch.
Yeah. So they freeze him as Faye is rocking up to visit.
Yeah.
And Faye is trying to explain to Tony something at school.
Donating an artwork as like a runner-up prize or some shit.
And of course, Tony is just frozen. And it shows he's welding through metal. And the metal goes through and starts burning a rope that's holding up a structure above him, a big cabinet. Looks quite heavy.
It's like a bit of, I don't know, like it's just a bit of stuff, to be honest.
Yeah, it just looks like a cabinet. He's
don't
artified.
even know why it's up there. He's artified a cat and then it's up. And we don't really know why.
That's where you store them, apparently.
Yeah.
So it's going to fall down. Faye's like, watch out. And it ends up taking his pants down.
Yeah, see, like, because I thought it was going to be like a danger sequence or something.
That's what I thought too.
But then it just like somehow drops and perfectly pulls his pants down.
It didn't make even a big noise.
No, and like mechanically, I'm not sure what happened.
No.
I'm just going to assume it dropped just near enough to him to reef his fucking pants down, and we'll call it a day on that. Because like I couldn't quite, like, because we watched it twice, and I was like, I don't know what the fuck's going on here.
Now immediately, Faye's face lights up. She likes his legs, and I said this. I wrote down, Faye likes Tony's legs, and. Now, this part, you said, I don't think he's wearing underwear.
Yeah, no, because you noticed that, and that's good because that actually does, that's relevant. But then, my first thought was, he's not wearing undies.
And I just debated this because I'm like, I wear, the very thin undies and stuff. And I'm like,
yeah, see, I wear like basically other pants.
So we watched it again. We looked it through. And as it got to the side on, I verifully just agreed with you straight away because there is no way that man was wearing underwear.
Yeah, like, and bear in mind, for some weird reason, tiny undies and shorts they're not, maybe not as much now, but they were a big fucking thing in Australia among like only the most homophobic bogans like would wear stubbies, which are like the cutest gay stripper boy shorts you could ever hope to see, and you would just see balls a lot of the time.
NRL fan shorts.
Yeah.
That's what they essentially are.
And like the undies that would go under these were like just suggestions.
The lady workers at Boost used to have longer shorts than these.
And those girls show some thigh.
Yeah.
And that's the thought is when you see an Australian get pantsed in 1989 and you think, he's not wearing undies, you got to go, okay, wait, review the footage. Because you might see like this thin strip of like fucking, tradie blue and be like, oh yeah, there it is. There's that weird little, really high-waisted, tiny, thin, almost a G-string, but not quite F-string, I'd say. Like, undies. And because I from the angle that I was thinking of when we paused it, I was like, there's no undies there. And you were like, oh. And then, then there's that second angle we got from the full side where it's like, there's nothing. Just free balling.
Now, I'm not a welding expert.
No.
I don't claim to be. I've welded approximately twice in my life. Now,
That's more than I've done.
I'm not going to be wearing no underwear. I know it's cotton and it wouldn't protect anything if it was to get inflamed, but I still want another layer between my genitals and the flame.
Just in general, like I've never understood people who go like just free on that.
I have an appendage.
Yeah, like I need like
It moves.
Yeah,
I need it to be cradled.
Yeah, gently.
I have
But
balls
still,
too.
yeah,
Hey,
like- Yeah, the kit and the caboodle. Like
Yeah.
there's an external front matter that you can't just have bopping. It's uncomfortable. It's not. It is really uncomfortable having your shit just
the
bouncing
argument
about.
is always humanity wasn't meant to do that. We were supposed to run and have a slap. Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, humanity has evolved in the sense that we have all this technology
Yeah.
and we don't live naked anymore.
Yeah,
if we were all
humanity- yeah.
naked and had no houses and everything like that, yeah, sure, go
Also,
for it.
have you seen pictures of like?
But I don't want to operate
know-
heavy machinery and other things while nude.
Yeah, well, there's we have photos of like tribes and shit that were still getting about back like that. Once cameras had been invented, and their junk doesn't look like. I don't want my dick to be like a calloused knot that's like as prepared to
No,
deal
see,
with
all
the
you've
elements
gotta
as like my
do
fucking
is you got to
foot.
grow your pubes, right? You grow your pubes quite long, and then it forms a hardened tusk around your phallus,
You need
kind of
it.
like a shield.
Yeah, because like none of that looks fucking comfortable. It's like the boob situation.
Mm.
It's like, yeah, you know what keeps your tits from hurting? Like bras. You gotta support that stuff. It's like, yeah, well, we didn't used to. Yeah, so what?
The ones without the wires,
Used to shit in a pile. I don't fucking care if we didn't used to do diddly squat. We do this now. Maybe like we didn't see it, but I'm guessing Dad Twist must have like maybe he's made his own like hammock out of his pubes. For
Nah,
his
he just
junk to
free
sit in.
balls it. He just hangs everywhere. Just goes with the flow.
I mean, again, how is that? I don't get how that's comfortable.
Yeah, he does him. The kids seeing an opportunity for mischief, rewind the fucker, the poor guy.
They push the repeat button, which
Yeah,
isn't a button.
no.
There was return, which is what you could use to go back to the channel you were just on.
Repeat was eventually added in, but it wasn't. It was like DVD and stuff.
Not every DVD player had the
No.
repeat button either. And yeah, that was
But
like,
it was a very late thing.
yeah, that was like the late 90s, early
No,
2000s.
Yeah, the early 2000s.
And well, again, this is just like a block of chocolate with keyboard stuff on it.
Mm.
So they needed a repeat button, so they pushed the repeat button on Dad after he pulls his pants up, which
It's so funny
leads to him pulling his pants down.
because he makes this face
Yeah,
and he's smiling and grinning.
it's
And
a
it's
yeah.
creepy.
It's the exact midpoint between a sheepish oopsie doodle and like, yeah, it's the kind of smile you do to cover for something embarrassing and then immediately go into a more befuddled facial expression. And whoever freeze framed that and picked that as the moment at the round the Twist offices did a good job because it was the creepiest looking. It was like just, that's some like park self-exposure territory. And so he just does that for a little while in front of Faye, who does seem to find the whole thing very amusing.
Which is odd because if I was a woman and I rocked up to some dude's house and his pants fell down and then he proceeded to take them on and off repeatedly, I would leave,
This girl was a teenager in the 70s in Australia, so
I guess.
she's probably seen some shit.
This
I
is a
mean,
mating ritual to her.
Yeah, they didn't even let women in bars until like the mid 70s, I think. Like women weren't allowed, like it was just literally women weren't allowed at the public bar. So for her, I mean, she didn't even see actual penis. So for her, that was
That we know
that was
of.
probably a good day. That was probably very
She
gentlemanly.
might have seen it.
Yeah.
We don't know. We can't say that for sure.
She has mirrors on her shoes.
Yeah. After
That's right. You
this,
said firmly in the no undies train.
Yeah.
I forgot how that written down. And yeah, immediately like, nope. Yeah, he's not wearing anything. I'm firmly in the no undies train.
Yeah. After this scene, we go to cut to a restaurant where the Gribbles are already down and eating dinner.
It's like a regional Australian Italian restaurant, which is like Australia has a lot of Italians, so you'd think that they'd maybe get this right without having it be depressing. But I'm willing to bet that it's just like so the person who works in that Italian restaurant, like the chef, is probably the kind of like old white guy that still exclusively refers to them as wogs.
Mm.
He calls himself a wog food chef because the spaghetti is depressing. It's just red with like noodles.
Yeah. They come in. Tony addresses Harold. They're starting to have a bit of a chat, and the kids sort of go over, and Gribble notices the remote in the back of Pete's pocket.
Pete, being the fucking brain wizard,
Why
decides,
would you bring it with you and just leave it hanging out like that?
why would you bring it to a fucking,
So Gribble grabs it.
Yeah.
And immediately is like, what's this? And they have a little fight over, sort of fight, and it hits fast forward.
Yeah.
And it hits Gribble Sr.
Did it hit fast forward or hit rewind?
Fast forward.
Did it?
Yeah, because he started going through his meal really quickly.
Huh.
He started just wolfing it down.
He's eating a steak too.
Yeah.
That reminds me of the RSL. Okay, yeah, because the RSL on Stradbroke Island when I went back in like, I don't know, 2000 or some shit. And like, it had Chinese food, but it had Chinese food made by people who probably still hated Asians due to like World War II.
Yeah.
So it was just the funniest. Like that's what this Italian
Dude,
restaurant. 'Cause he's just eating a steak and chips in an Italian restaurant.
All of those leagues clubs were like that.
Yeah.
Because we used to go to the Crushers League Club. And it was, I used to go down the bottom because in the basement
That had some arcade machines.
Because they had Tekken 2.
Yeah.
Which was rad.
It's pretty good. Good on you, Crushers.
Yeah.
I think you were a train and now you're gone.
They came back briefly.
I think there's something else now. There's a different Gold Coast team.
Yeah.
Titans, I think.
Titans, yeah. So they run off after them.
Yeah, Gribble gets the remote. Like,
that's the end of it. They run off and that's not good.
Yeah, they're sort of grumbling over this back at like when they're on because it's just the next day. Like the best we've established is like, oh yeah, Gribble's got like the time manipulator.
Next day, they're on a bus and they're worried. And Bronson doesn't see them on the bus, and he's happy because he thinks that means they're not going to be there. Oh, naive Bronson! As they get off the bus gets rewound.
Yeah,
almost causing an accident.
Pete also mentioned that it only works for 5 minutes.
That was. Yeah,
I feel like that could have come up when the cat unfroze. Like the cat should have just unfroze by itself. I was like, oh, it only works for a little while.
Yeah, I wrote that down too. Yeah, it only works for 5 minutes because that was an establishing thing. Because that information, when did they learn that information?
Yeah,
that we saw them from dad to restaurant to remote gone.
Yeah. No, again, and there was a moment in the fucking narrative perfect for it.
Yeah, the cat.
Yeah, the cat, and the cat just unfreezes, and it's like, oh, okay, it only lasts for a little while, and that's all. That's all you have to do. You don't just have to have Pete just go, oh yeah, I was like secretly working on it for a while before I stuffed it in my pocket and went to eat spaghetti because I'm a stupid piece of shit.
Mm.
And yeah, so now we get our like end game-esque run of special effects.
They're like, oh, we can't see it. It's all good. And then what I can only say as shenanigans. There was a lot of shenanigans going on.
A lot of pausing the video.
There was a dog peeing.
We got paused.
Which was pause peeing, which is great. Like, if you go touch it, is that piece solid?
See, that's the fucking thing that gets me is like, there's a lot, the fly that went through the window suggests that, we're getting some different physical properties than simply like, that's why I'm leaning more towards Speed Force kind of things. So I'm assuming the urine would have to be just, impenetrably solid. Like it would have to be some kind of indestructible. Cause I feel like the way this works is it removes whatever has been hit from like our physical rules. So things like momentum and stuff like that, like all of that shit's just gone.
Yeah.
And because I mean, the alternative is like I think maybe like, you might think, well, I should be able to pick up the peeing dog then and like throw the hard piss somewhere.
Yeah.
So this is why you don't use localized time stop because it is it's like, it's why fucking The Flash is a hard character to write for. So it's like, what happened? Well, the Flash should be able to solve this in the blink of an eye. Yeah, that's a good point. Oh, but this guy spins in one direction really quickly, so you never know.
Now, Pete also has a mirror.
Yeah, that's his
secret weapon to deal with Gribble.
Which does work. I have you can rebound the RF signal from the old remotes.
Yep. And after the few shenanigans, we come inside and they're singing Click, click, go the shear
fucking
boys.
shears. And this gave, I'm glad you reacted as roughly as he did because it gave me PTSD as
Dude,
well.
my reaction was, I forgot this song existed, and I'm angry that I know it exists again.
Well, that and like
Click and shit, boys, click,
the
click, click.
droning
Ugh.
Australian primary school children singing it. Like, I don't know if they still do it, but they used to make you sing the national anthem, and like, I got jack of that. Like,
I don't think the
very early.
anthem's sung much anymore.
Yeah, that's lucky because like,
Because I don't think the
sucks.
kids know what "girt" means.
Nobody does.
It's definitely not a name.
I think it's some kind of boat.
Now, the next part, I paused and went back and I was like, dude, prime monobrow. And you haven't
Yeah.
noticed it because you were looking at the trombone.
Yeah, well, that and like, I was still. So you expressed your emotions about Click Go the Shears, whereas I did what I normally do and bottle it up and go to the place inside where I'm safe. And so I didn't notice a variety of other things. I was just in the middle of erecting various emotional walls, so I didn't have to remember anything about primary school. And yeah, you managed to point out like what I've written down in all caps has power brow.
Dude, it is a big one.
It's the crazy thing is it's not a unibrow, but it's strong enough to appear as one
Yeah.
from certain angles.
Yep. So it is on the first shot, you see him front on, and it's clearly visible there is a space. It is verging on being a mono, but it's still separated. But then it goes to the side, and the light shines, and it looks so powerful.
It's like one of those caterpillars that pretends to be a snake as a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
And like the kid's called Simpson, and I've written Simpson is the ugliest. God, look at that one. Like
I've written
there are some fucking child abuse
ugly
haircuts.
children.
Yeah.
Because then I noticed a sheepdog looking motherfucker at the back. Because the sheepdog kids are traditionally sort of lanky
yeah.
and sort of like goofy looking, and they just
They
have
have
that
an
mane
undercut
of hair.
and then weird curly hair. It's just-
Yeah.
like, yeah, I wrote some of these haircuts need to qualify as child abuse because Jesus fucking Christ. And so, like, they zap Pete with fast forward and he trombones his trombone just too much.
Too much trombone.
Yeah. And it's apparently almost sets it on fire. And then, like, you know, Pete and like Gribble start fighting over the remote, and Pete manages to get it, and they go sprinting off. And Pete hits the choir leader and Mr. Chip's teacher with fast forward, and he starts like just conducting like a wild thing.
I forgot his name, so I wrote down Mr. Teacher.
Yeah, that's actually it's Mr. Chips. Mr. Chips is like a British character that's been in a few movies.
Was his name Sterling or something?
Maybe.
It was close.
I don't know.
I did write it down somewhere.
Yeah, Captain
I went
England
back and
face.
tried to find it, but
He's
I couldn't
very
see
like
it.
parochial. He rubs me the wrong way immediately. He's the kind of person where I just disobey him on a matter of point.
When did Faye was introduced? What episode was she in? Was
I'm
it
pretty
2?
sure she was in. Yeah, it was either the first or the second. I'm pretty sure she was in fairly early. Like the saga of Horny Dad is a twisted one in my mind, but like
Horny Dad. Horny Dad.
gotta watch him being horny.
It was episode 3. Mr. Stanhope. There we go.
Stanhope. That's it. So they go sprinting off, and there's some setups. You know, there's like a teacher carrying a big pile of books. There's a groundsman just digging what looks like a trench.
He gets hit on fast forward.
Yeah, there's a lot of fast forward going on.
And he starts digging hard.
Yeah.
And it comes back to him slightly shortly later. And
he's dug himself shoulder deep.
deeper.
Yeah. And then what is it? Rabbit gets frozen. Rabbit gets paused because like fucking Pete busts out Aegis Reflector.
Yeah.
And
Aegis
then-
Reflector.
Yeah.
Ding.
So like, oh yeah, so you see like a little girl skipping fight. You see some other, it's special effects. You know, it's like describing where Captain America's shield goes when he throws it. So it's like, yeah, they actually have some laser effects of just stuff kind of drawn. Like it's a little bit like Ghostbusters, but like imagine it being done by a guy and not like a special effects team. So it's not good. And then, yeah, so what is it? Like Gribble tackles Pete and just claims the remote for himself.
Yeah.
And then Pete parries it with a mirror and freezes Rabbit, who actually, he gets the actor has to stand still treatment. And I actually think he did a better job than Linda. He did a very good job.
I don't
of looking very
know.
still.
I saw him sway.
I think that there's 'cause there's 2 shots of him.
Yeah.
There's the second one when like Gribble's like paying attention to him. And like the first shot, I think he does a very good job. I did notice a bit of a sway in that second one.
And then we go back to the lady carrying books who falls in the hole.
Set up, payoff. It's just, there it is, you know?
Clap, clap.
Yeah. And see, like, this is where, so they go back to their fucking lair/barn.
The barn lair.
Yeah, imagine your lair being a barn.
It's the Blair. Back to the Blair.
And so, like, they're establishing what the plan is now that they've got the remote back. So that whole thing was kind of just sort of pointless. You know, it was just like Pete almost, because you could have had him get the remote there, you know? Like, I feel like there wasn't much value really to
There was no value for them getting it at the restaurant.
Yeah. Like, maybe seeing Pete use it at the restaurant and seeing Pete use it maybe for shenanigans and no good.
And then
Gribble getting the idea to
yeah.
get it.
Yeah.
And then, because then Pete losing it is like the penalty for misuse of the God tool.
Yeah.
Which again is, you know, and you need to do things like this. Like, this is how like fiction works. And because if you don't have these little things that connect and function, then you're just talking about real life. And that's depressing. I don't have a remote that freezes shit in real life.
I wish I did.
Yeah, like it's weird because between that and the scene of like Rabbit being like pinned under burlap and very like graphically force-fed like tint spaghetti, we've bumped into two very unusual but not uncommon fetishes of the modern porn landscape. Like, there's a strange amount of like time freeze shit, and there's a strange amount of like force feed stuff and spaghetti.
Yeah,
fuck it, it's always tint spaghetti, and like, you know, it too is not a pattern, but like I'm just, you know, I feel like we're gonna be getting to some. I feel like there's gonna be, you know, a little bit like the music getting played, but not deliberately. I feel like we're going to be bumping into strange modern fetishes, but like in the round the twist.
There is a lot of fetish fuel in Australian 90s television. A lot. Now, this part I wrote down, when they're explaining the plan, and then Rabbit says, I'm not dumb, you know?
Yeah, I wrote
and he
that
says
as well.
it with the confidence of a trembling little droplet. He has
really
no confidence
sad.
in himself there at all.
It's and because I like this sequence too, because this is the you know, when they say Tiger will be the judge, and I was like interested in that because like I wrote down Tiger will be the judge, but we all know he worships only the law, and I was like, I thought that might, you know, might be a little more relevant into it, because, you know, we have seen that Tiger, it is about the rules with him. No, it's not about villainy exactly. There's just a structure and his weird little fucking rabbit experiment brain. You know, just that's it.
Yeah.
It's fine for him.
Now we go to the school, and the pig out's starting to begin, and there's two girls. I think one of them's Faye.
Yeah, no, it's Faye and
they've got a sign, and they're
whatever her name
chanting,
is, the sister.
Only pigs pig out.
What's the sister's name? I've forgotten it.
I don't know.
Drumstick. Kate.
It's fucking inverse.
Jeans. Janice.
So
Bought. Hang on, I got it.
Did you
it's
write
in
it
here
down?
somewhere. No, I've got like a wiki up. I know this. Like, I've been writing about this and doing this as like a borderline activity. Linda. Ah, damn it. That was close too.
Oh, you mean, I thought you were saying Faye's sister.
I didn't even know. No. Faye's the other girl that like Pete wants to like rub against
Which,
as
now this upset me because they're saying only pigs pig out.
Yeah.
Only pigs pig out. They're against it. And Faye, not Faye,
Linda.
the other chick that Pete likes.
Isn't that Faye? No, Faye is the one that Horny Dad likes. All right, hang on. I'm getting there. Fiona. Now, that's all right. In our defense, that's two F names.
Yeah.
And shut up.
Now, there's no comeuppance for Pete because that's his love interest. And they're verily against this activity.
It was kind of, yeah, like it makes sense for the character of Linda and, you know, Fiona.
Yeah.
But like, again, it doesn't connect to anything
Because
or do
Pete's
anything.
trying to impress her.
Like, sort of? Because they brought that up and they said that was stupid. Because, Jesus, it is fucking stupid.
It is.
But like, it didn't connect to anything.
No.
You know, they spent all the
They
time.
also didn't show any like want of really wanting the bike.
Yeah. It was just like, well, there's a 10 speed. I mean, all right, it's a 10 speed. you know.
Yeah, there was no explanation of the prize or anything.
Yeah, I feel like, again, there was a lot of time showing me paused cats
Mm.
and like, oh yeah, look, we can like fast forward this little girl raising a flag, which to be fair was a composite shot that actually had the kids walk past in regular time and it didn't look like absolute shite. So,
But it did linger on it for like 10 seconds.
oh yeah, it hung there. So like, I feel like there was a lot of that could have been cut out. Like, I feel like they were so worried with like showing off the 1980s ABC's capacity to fast forward things that they didn't do a little bit more character groundwork that I feel like, was in the show. Cause yeah, like the idea of Pete doing this to impress Fiona and Fiona obviously not being impressed because that is the dumbest thing in the world. And then her having like the protest that just like it's kind of there and then it stops immediately. I mean, look, to be fair, it's hard not to watch fat kids gorge on food. Like it's just a fascinating scene to sort of experience.
So they introduced the contestants.
I feel like Tiger would have his own successful YouTube show if this were being made
Tiger's
in this day and
Rove.
age. Oh yeah, he is fucking too.
He's got the same
Yeah.
head shape that will grow.
He really,
he's
yeah.
just that's
Because
Rove.
Rove has that Michael J. Fox quality of looking like a teenager even when he's 50.
Yep.
And yeah, so like midget, Tiger. Tiger, is the MC and he has like, an assistant and he's bringing on all the contestants. So there's like, there's
Number
Pete.
1 is Pete.
Yep.
Number 2 is Tapeworm Tanya.
Tapeworm Tanya, which sounds like something you'd call a girl with an eating disorder, but she seemed okay with it. So, all right.
And then
not my place.
Betty the Bottomless Pit.
Fucking Betty.
And this monstrous girl with these big pony like side
Pigtails
pigtails
is right
comes out
outside.
and goes, "Huh," and like,
Okay,
does
have you watched any of Gravity Falls?
yeah, I watched the whole thing. Yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Okay. You know how like Mabel has those two friends and one of them's like clearly a wrestler.
yeah,
Yeah. That was
Yeah,
that
yeah.
that one. Yeah.
yeah, 100%.
I can't remember her name, but like,
She came out and was like flexed.
yeah, it's just, and again, like between her and the audience, it's like, God, where do you find these things?
And then we have Rabbit the Ravenous.
Rabbit the Ravenous, which is, yeah, solid. And like, look, rabbits do eat a bit, I suppose. I mean, they're ruining the outback.
And then we had the rules, and there's 3 rules.
Yeah.
10 minutes to eat as much as you can.
All right.
Number 2, all plates have to be scraped off.
Okay.
Which I thought was a weird rule because they didn't really focus on this at all. They didn't show this.
I mean, I suppose it just means, well, again,
I understand
the
like,
sauce, and I want to use that, term generously, is just like some smears of red. So I'm assuming what they mean is you're not allowed to have strips of pasta left in the bowl.
Yeah, you
So,
got to
like,
take all the food off.
You have to clean your bowl.
Yep.
Which is fair. All right.
And then number 3, no spewing, and you have to hold it for 10 minutes after the contest ends.
That's fair, yeah. Well, you can't vomit during.
No.
That's any idiot could fucking win then.
And
I wrote, Betty the Bottomless Pit has the kind of furious visage that I remember from Goodner. She's someone who's been abused a lot, but has grown to meet that with incredible strength.
yeah, 100%.
They have, that fucking school has those clocks that I fucking hate, the ones that don't tick, the ones with the second hand just lazily gloops around the fucking, I hate those.
Did yours not tick?
Some of our classrooms had the slow moving second hand ones that just were, it didn't tick. It just went, and those drive me nuts for some weird reason. I need the clicking of the seconds.
What's metronome?
Yeah.
It's in time.
It helps me ground myself in this 3D plane.
Now, they start off, Betty's smashing the plates.
I feel like these days, Betty, yeah, like I feel like now that Australia has a slightly more developed professional wrestling industry, I think Betty'd be a winner.
100%.
You need the big monster girl. Very important.
Now, a little bit through, she conks out. Head down, bang in the spaghetti. And she sits up and says, I had 12 plates at breakfast. And I was
she
like,
can't work out why
what?
she didn't eat as much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why I can't eat more. I had 12 plates at breakfast. It's
Pre-gamed a little
holy
hard there,
shit.
Betty. But that's what I mean, though. This is the Usain Bolt thing. Like, we're here worrying about, like, Rabbit and fucking, Pete. But, like, Betty was really the winner. Had Betty, had, like, maybe Bronson, like, managing her and helping her with her strategy, then she'd fucking clean them up. That's 12 on top of the ones that she already did. And probably then some, because it'd have been the afternoon and she wouldn't have eaten anything. And so she'd have just fucking inhaled that stuff. And I feel like that's one of those things where, like, you got to be careful sometimes. People, you got a natural talent, then you will rely on that and you won't foster, like, the work ethic.
Yeah.
To really go that little extra mile. And I think that was Betty's problem. I mean, when you're already known as Betty the Bottomless Pit, even outside of eating competitions, then, you
might
probably
have an issue.
You're going to go in with a chip on your shoulder, say.
Now, they come to get medical advice for Betty. They come get a stretcher to take her away.
Yeah. And then
she falls.
Yeah, she just closes the cloud and they can't lift Betty.
And then Tanya's gone.
Yeah, Tanya's tapeworm explodes.
And she goes and lies on the stretcher, and Betty ends up ending take the stretcher away. And I wrote down, goodbye, side characters.
The best side characters.
Oh, man. Like, they like, Tanya didn't do anything.
I mean, she ate
had a few shots of her just eating.
Yeah,
like,
she was there. I feel like, like you could have, like, that's almost a superhero duo there. Like the tapeworm is a little bit like Venom.
I just felt there really wasn't enough focus on Pete and Rabbit in this scene.
Well, yeah, I mean, I suppose because the thing is, like, they're getting the climax. So for any kind of, it's a bit like the Mortal Kombat movie where in a tournament you are gonna have a few scenes of side characters getting killed because you need that. Otherwise, you're not really at a tournament. You're just at a main character spectacular.
I feel like they just didn't show their perspective of them at the same time well enough.
Some different choices of shot.
Like, I feel you could have had them nearly all in the shot a lot
easier. Yeah,
easier.
that's a good point, actually. Yeah, there's just 4 of them.
Yeah.
And, like, admittedly, like, if you wanted to get all of Betty in frame, you'd be needing, a 16:9 or maybe an IMAX, really. But, like, you just, we get the picture, okay? We can see half of her head and she's consuming spaghetti. We don't need the rest of it. But, like, because Bronson actually managed to do something useful in this scene, too, which is he had been spying on Gribble and, the rabbit and tiger when they'd returned to their lair.
Yeah.
And had learned what the plan was, which was to let Rabbit eat 10 bowls.
It was get to 9.
Yeah, and then, that's right, yeah, because on the 10th, they'd zap him with fast forward.
Yep.
And he'd win the bike that his dad donated and could clearly afford. And they told, like, that's the thing is they told Pete that. Like, I don't know, I think I've missed a note or something. I feel like I've just not, how do they get a hold of the remote again? Because it gets to that point.
It's the end of the scene with the shovel. Remember, he tackles him. He gets to the remote.
Oh, no. I'm not talking about the villains. Yeah, so Gribble's got the remote.
Oh, yeah, we'll get to that.
So I'm going through it in my head trying to remember.
He hits fast forward when he gets the 9 plates. And he
that's right, because they don't even,
he starts scarfing them. He starts
scarfing it down.
And the timer ends, and he keeps going.
Yeah.
And
because Gribble is so impressed.
Yeah,
he forgets that he's got to turn his friend's fucking.
And he turns him off. Now, this is another fetish right here.
Inflation. God damn it, it's 3.
Yes.
It's a pattern.
So he starts inflating slightly, and his shirt swells open.
Yeah, they do the button bursting routine.
Yeah, and that's a 4th one right there is weight gain. Now, he's not looking good.
He is not.
He has too much food in him.
I once did the degustation at a niece in Fortitude Valley, and that is like 8 small courses, but it's like the richest food you've ever eaten in your entire life. There's like snails and shit. And I ate so much that I threw up outside the place. And my girlfriend who I was there with at the time wasn't mad at me because she was really close to doing that by herself. It was like, I shouldn't.
Oh, dude.
It's just like, it's so rich. I was like, I think everything had butter in it. And my body's not that used to that.
So Rabbit pops. He spews. Spaghetti goes flying. And there's some really good shots here of different characters getting hit with it. Now, Matron's mouth was open, and that was great because it went in.
You have eaten the spaghetti.
And shortly after, it shows hands down to Gribble on the floor. Gribble Jr.
That's
covered.
Because he was at point blank because he tried to grip Rabbit's mouth shut.
He tried to stop him from spewing. He said, "Don't you spew on me." hold it in, and he went all over him. And now he's pinned down to the floor in spew.
Yeah.
And that's when Pete walks over and takes the remote off him.
That's right. Yeah. He just goes, and then he finds the rewind button. And
Yeah.
then Rabbit just goes,
no. And it zooms in into his mouth, and that's the end of the episode.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, all the spews gone back into him, which I wish they'd shown.
Yeah, see, like, and you know what the frustrating thing is about that one is, of all the fucking dumb shit they could want to, like, show off, like, pausing a little girl and shit, it's like, because there's two separate effects. There's the process of the vomit coming out, which is a shot from behind Rabbit, and, like, what looks like maybe a bowl or two of, like, wet noodles getting launched out the front. And after it's hit everybody, there is fuckloads more of it by miles, and it's all very saucy. Because, you know, just getting hit with some fucking noodles, like I've been vomited on in a variety of situations, a lot of it doesn't even rate, you know?
Yeah.
If it really does depend on the content of the vomit for it to, you know, get over into something gross. A bunch of saucy spaghetti, that's unpleasant. That's not, there's going to be textural issues with that. That's going to be nasty.
Combined with the bile, it generates a smell that is just
it'll be fucking rancid. And really, they could have had the classic side shot of Pete on the Rabbit with his mouth open and just saucy spaghetti flying out like that. That is an easy fucking win. And then you could show us that being reversed, and that would be the, hey, here's some special effects for you kids at home, and that would have been fucking cool. And instead, we got like a girl skipping fast, and we get teased with watching a child having to eat vomit.
Yeah.
And we don't get to see it.
No,
and
we
God
don't.
damn it, that's
But
my fetish, and I don't get to see that.
It's not even like, that's the thing, it's not even vomit when you see it. It's just literally the spaghetti.
Yeah.
So it's not like he's eating vomit. You could just go, oh, it's not vomit, it's spaghetti, because it's just gone in and it's just come out.
It hasn't been digested enough. It's like if you go to another country, you're not just, if you take a trip to Japan, you're not Japanese.
Also, God damn it, if Jackass can eat a fucking vomlet, then they can show Rabbit
eating just
inhaling
spaghetti.
the spaghetti, yeah.
Like, just reverse that shot. Give us that. Like, I'm not saying you gotta, like, get Cronenbergy on it, although if it were up to me and we were making my show Shit's Fucked, I would be getting very Cronenbergy on this. It'd be horrifying. Mine wouldn't be aimed at kids. Let's face that
Speaking of
reality.
things like that, you remember the arcade machine Feed Big Bertha?
Oh, yeah, I do remember that.
So
it's one of those ball games, except there's just like a fat lady and a moo-moo.
it's literally, a fat lady and a moo-moo, and it's got a pump, and her belly expands and then goes down. Expands and goes down, and you got to throw the balls in her mouth to get tickets. Now, I remember this as far back as I can. I remember it being in top of the Maya Center.
Because
I remember nearly seeing it, and you'd see it in nearly every arcade.
Yeah, it's a shitty old game. Like, it's barely a game. It's one of
you occasionally see it around this, so there's a new version of it floating around. And that just, something like that reminded me too. Something like clowns, anything where you have to put things in a mouth, this episode reminded me of. So what are the have you ever felt likes for this?
Okay, so have you ever felt like this? Have you ever been in or seen an eating competition? You think?
No.
Right, none?
No.
Neither?
No.
Huh. I know, like, I kind of know what you mean, because, like, it wasn't just around the twist. They came up on a lot of kids' shows back in the day. And it's like that.
A lot of shows.
Yeah, it's like that quicksand thing where you thought there'd be more of them. But I think the problem is like organizing a lot of food that people are actually going to eat is hard. The only one I was ever involved in was like eating jelly. And yeah, that sucked. And it was like kind of like just this weird sideshow thing at a school fete. And like, I didn't even win because the person that I was going up against just swallowed it. Like, you know how you can open your throat to like just chug beer? They were doing that, but with jelly. And that was like, the second I saw it just go into the mouth, like watching a midget fall into a hippo, I was like, I'm not going to fucking win this.
Okay, I lie. I do remember one.
You fucking liar.
I know. It came to me once you said jelly and just talked about it. So it was 2 years back at PAX, and PAX is Penny Arcade
Is that
Expo.
some kind of goddamn
Pop
nerd thing.
Culture Expo, yeah, essentially. And Maxibon were there. And Maxibon, outside the Melbourne Exhibition Hall, there's a huge corridor outside the main hall. And they had a little setup there. And it was a competition where you had to eat a Maxibon as fast as you can versus someone else. Now, I was standing there watching Paulo do it. I wasn't going to partake. But then...
You were not prepared for maximum bon?
No. Do you remember old mate Jason? Like that he helped us with some fighting game stuff ages ago, wide Asian fella. Yeah. He was in line to do it. The dumbass by himself. You need two people. You needed two people in line to do it.
Yeah.
So he's like, "Oh, Aaron, can you do it with me?" And I'm like, "All right." So I go up there. Now, Maxibons are very nice. For those who don't know what a Maxibon is, it's an ice cream with the two halves. One's a choc part with ice cream and sort of like crunchy sort of chocolate
like
flake.
A biscuity.
The other's a biscuit.
They are like, they're like $2 from a servo, but they are the better option.
Oh, they're nearly $5,
creams.
bro.
Oh, really? That sucks.
Yeah, no, they went up years ago. Now, the thing about these are they were in the freezer.
Woo!
They were rock solid. They were rock solid on purpose. That was the whole point.
Yeah, and you'd have been getting some brain
So
freeze.
I had a plan. I was going to rip off chunks and then duck swallow.
Yeah, no, I again, watch that work.
I started doing this and I got about a quarter way through and I'm hurting. It is hard. I look to my right. Jason's like 70% through it. His natural body heat is just dissolving it as he puts it in his mouth. He's literally just like eating it, just like a sandwich, just chomp, 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 chomp. And I'm just like, I can't compete against that. Yeah. He's not human. So yeah, I have a Maxibon and the whole experience was ruined because it really sucked and was frozen and hard.
the least pleasant Maxibon.
In future, what I think I would have done would be put my hands in my ass beforehand, warm them up a lot, and then like try to melt the Maxibon as much as possible before.
Aaron's Maxibon Straxibon is to fucking stink palm his own lunch.
Yep.
And Aaron's pulling ahead by nestling his Maxibon betwixt his cheeks.
Oh, dude, I've got some killer cheeks. I reckon I could,
you do.
Rub that and light a fire and get it going. So yeah, I did participate in an eating contest. There you go.
Oh, no, that's good. The second one, which I think I've already covered for me, was have you ever eaten to the point of being sick? I mean, aside from that story of doing it at a niece, like, that was like, I don't know what's wrong with me, but I've just got that thing of like, it's like clean plate thing where, you eat until the food is gone. Like, that's just how my brain fucking works. And yeah, I have to fight that.
I'm the same, yeah.
And so most of like how I'd eat is eat until I felt like I was going to rupture and then lay down. And that is that's dumb. It's exceptionally fucking dumb way to live. You can just, you can put things in Glad wrap. Like, maybe don't make so much at start.
Yeah.
There's ways to work around this, but yeah, that was basically just how I lived for like most of my life.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
It was like last year I decided I've got to stop doing this.
The one that sticks out of my mind, it was recently last year. Magnum brought out a new ice cream. And it was...
In fact, Magnum are like the other sort of boutique-y ice cream brand that you can get at servos.
Yeah. So this one was
love
a tub.
Both of your ice cream.
It was a tub from the Woolworths, Coles, whatever.
Right.
And
so it wasn't just the bar.
You know the sort of chalk sauce you can pour on it, sort of like the magic one, it freezes instantly.
Yeah.
It was kind of a fusion. So you push the thing and it's inside it cracks inside and it's all lovely and stuff like that. And it was salted caramel. Now my mind was like, oh, but the crack's only good for one, so you got to eat it all in one sitting. That was a mistake. It was very, very rich, and 70 cents through that, I'm like, I can't see. Like the salted caramel felt like it was in my eyes, and I kept going. I ate all of it, and that was a bad mistake, and I threw up in my mouth and re-swallowed it.
Yeah, like, because it does get tied up in that. Like, we just like, I'm not going to lose to like the food that I'm eating by myself in the dark.
Exactly. I bought it. I paid for it. It's not defeating me.
Or like my big problem that I get is like, I don't want to put away like a tiny amount. You know?
Yeah, that too.
But
Yeah.
it's like it's a tiny amount that's gonna kill me.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, may as well finish it. Oh, why? Why do I hurt? Well,
but
like,
it's
again, like,
so like
no, I tried to eat all those
so
nuggets, like, and
good, though.
I realized, like, just almost was like, oh fuck, no, this is
I
awful.
just
It's
love
such a bad
tasting
idea.
food. Like I love the taste of food. I love eating as much as I can because
Food is a
it's
is a fantastic carnal delight.
it is. It's if I had to die from something, like if I could choose a death, it would be like you. If I had to die, it would just be food.
This is a bad conversation to have now because I haven't.
I'm very hungry.
Yeah, I don't think I had breakfast.
I didn't
or
have
lunch.
breakfast or lunch either.
Yeah,
No.
I haven't eaten all day. You know what? I could just go like
That's
15
some
bowls
almonds.
of spaghetti.
That's some almonds for breakfast and a muesli bar.
Almonds and muesli bar.
All right, what's the next?
Okay, well, the next one is in honor of, like, you know, horny dad's repeat punishment. Have you been pantsed or pantsed somebody else?
Ooh, all right. I'll have to think on this. If
All right,
you've,
well,
if
yeah,
you've
no,
got one.
I've. It was lucky because I didn't think I was gonna have anything for this, and then I immediately, I was like, my brain was like, nope. So, I've only ever met one Gabriel in my entire life, like one other Gabriel. You know, it's literally just been me. And it was really convenient too because he lived up the road from my dad's house in Shorncliffe, and so we were like weekend friends, and it was great because everybody already called him Gumby. So there was no crossover or clash as to who was going to be like, you know, Gabriel the Prime or whatever the shit. Because there was Gabe and then there was Gumby. And so one time we're making our way over to the, you know, beach at Shorncliffe, which is basically all there was to do back then. And because it's like Saturday afternoon, he's wearing like track pants. It's like, I don't know, autumn or something. And, you know, we're going past, there was this big gazebo, and the gazebo this afternoon was packed with people he knew from school. So I didn't go to the school. I didn't know these people. So he stops, you know, there's girls there, whole shebang. And like his tone and manner of speech changed slightly, you know, to the point where he's like, he's putting on a little bit of like, you know, a proper self to be, you know, to maybe to try and be a bit more impressive. And I thought, well, let's have none of that. And he was wearing track pants. And the great thing about track pants is they, like, the static force that generates between track pants and like human skin is like a maglev train. Like it, once you pull that in any direction, that shit is like fucking bullet training its way off. And you know, I, being a fairly seasoned jerk by this point, know that if you're gonna pants somebody, you want to start with a very open hand like you're feeding a horse. Slap around the side of where the legs are and bunch in from the center, pulling tight with kind of the outer fingertips only at the very end. What this does is ensures you get a handful of pants and underpants. Nobody gives a shit about getting caught in their undies. That's an inconvenience. But if you are left standing at the top of like Shorncliffe fucking, you know, beach cliff with families barbecuing left, right, and center, people playing frisbee, dogs running around, and a gazebo full of peers, the last thing you want is to just be fucking balls out, hanging wang.
I never want to be balls out hanging wang in public unless I'm on a nude beach.
I like, and again, there's, you know, you can do it just with your hands. You can do it with a little bit of a hip, you know, a hip turn. I crouched like I was charging for flash kick. So I got these fucking things down so fucking far. They came off with a sizzle, that static electric sizzle, in a way that you just almost don't feel. So people were already pointing and laughing at his dick before he'd registered. And he went to pull him up, but because I got so low, and look, to be fair, that put my head right near ass territory. But look, that's the sacrifice.
Sometimes you gotta make those sacrifices.
The sacrifice you have to make. And got those pants as low as I could go without getting them under the
So
foot.
he should have just farted on your face.
Again, there are counter techniques and various other forms of strategy that one can employ. He was a bit shell shocked. So
yeah.
I'm nearly 100% certain one of these girls was a girl he liked.
That's fair.
So, and now, he's leaped ahead several fucking, years and stages of this relationship. And he goes for the pull up, reach down, grab, gets a little bit of the fabric, stands right back up. No pants have come with him. Little fella there just bopping about now. He's just kind of doing a little, a little to and fro with it. And finally, because now we're at like, okay, it's bad to laugh territory. Like there's almost a pity coming over this thing. And, I'd taken several steps back to be out of arm's reach. But the weird thing was, he was strangely just not that bothered by it. Like, it wasn't that he didn't find it embarrassing. He just accepted it as the most sensible.
That's a power move.
Yeah, it was just, it was just, the unspoken thing was he'd have done the same thing to me. It's just that thing of like, right then and there, atop the cliff of Sean Cliff, was just exactly the perfect moment to pants another human being. And so you can't, I was just the vector for the actions of the universe. It wasn't really me. And so that's why I feel like I got away with that one.
Right.
What about you?
Now,
did you
high
ever get your
school-
fucking teenage dick exposed to a
I
bunch
did
of...
not, no. At high school, at my high school, we wore shorts, black shorts. Now, I don't know about other people's schools, but they were, I'll try to explain it. So you'd be standing up and the shorts would go, they'd be probably long, just past knee, and they'd be horrible. They're black and they're just shorts made to look baggy. They're not very, they hang on your waist, but they're just there. They're pretty loose. They were really comfortable. And they're just kind of, you can play sports and we can do everything. But they come down so fucking easy if pulled. It's like they're almost made for pantsing because the bottom cuffs are so big and easy to grab.
Yeah.
They're perfect.
They provide no resistance.
Yeah.
Did they have
so
a
there was
fly?
a lot of people that got, no.
All right, so that's the problem is because, like, if you're wearing, like, jeans or any pants with a fly, you can have a belt that will keep them above the waistline and I will be immune to pantsing.
Yeah.
Like, I go outside immune to pantsing. If you've got to get that thing south of the fucking border to pee, you can't have that not done up tight. You can't have that because you could be,
They had a drawstring.
Yeah, well, yeah, but that's the thing is you can't double granny the drawstring because then you're standing in front of a urinal, double grannied.
You can't get them undone.
Yeah, you can't get them undone, or you're going to be trying to go out, the bottom, which you can't do if they're like kind of long, So like you're stuck in this weird fucking place where you got to have these pantsable pants on.
I can't remember any in particular. My school memories are pretty blanky. I think it might have come from snorting the Whiz Fizz. But I recall a few people getting pants. I remember.
I want to just thinking about this, and it's like, well, yeah,
honestly, I still think I have the pants.
Down.
I'll go find them at some point. You can
we'll
pants
experiment,
me. Yeah.
All right, so that's our 3 questions, and those are the 3 questions that you want to be answering when you email us at ihavefeltlikethis@yahoo.com. That's all lowercase, ihavefeltlikethis@yahoo.com. The 3 questions are, have you ever been in or seen an eating competition? Have you ever eaten to the point of being sick? Or have you ever been pantsed or pantsed someone else?
Or have you seen my penis?
Have you seen Aaron's penis? That's a bonus question. Yeah, I'm gonna get some interesting answers there. And so we've got we've still got a little bit of a back catalog. I feel like people are going ham on this, which is
really
nice.
nice.
Yeah. Okay, so greetings, Aaron and Gabe. So some of these are going to be dealing with like, I mean, obviously they're always going to be the past week's questions because time exists in a linear fashion. But like some people are answering multiple questions.
Right. Okay.
I
like that. That means they're listening.
It is nice.
They're doing their homework.
Yeah. While my answers to your questions aren't too crazy, I think they'll still be fairly entertaining, so enjoy. Cool. I've fortunately never had to look after a baby, mainly because I can't stand them. I have, however, been thrown up on once when I was in the backseat during a car ride with my little brother. He was still an infant at the time, and it was a pretty bumpy ride, so naturally he puked. However, this time it was a very forceful projectile vomit, so the puke splattered from the floor of the car and hit the passenger seat, with some going in my lap. Nice. While we did pull over to clean it out as best we could, the acrid stench was still very palpable for the remaining ride, and even though it was sanitized afterwards, the smell lingered ever so slightly for years. Yeah, one time we were
Man.
driving home and my brother was in the front seat and fucked up, like hungover fucked up.
Just
And-
shat everywhere.
No, honestly, I wish, because then it wouldn't have gone on me. Like, he threw up out the window and it just did that thing where it fucking,
no.
like, yeah, it just hooped around and was like, But it was like one of those things where, like, it was just vodka, you know? So it was like, it was kind of annoying, but just, it wasn't as bad as it could have been.
Yeah.
You know, this rider continues. Unfortunately, I can't remember if I've ever vomited on someone. I don't believe I have. However, as a side note, when I was a baby, I peed on my dad when he was bathing me. My parents did get this on camera, and to this day, there's still a tape among my family's records with a clip of baby me grinning like an idiot while a perfectly curved stream of piss hits dad in the chest.
That's weird.
Send us the footage! They tend to bring it out at family gatherings, thinking that it was hilarious and cute, while I'm just incredibly embarrassed about the whole thing. All right, look.
Look, don't send us pictures. Don't send us footage of babies peeing on people.
Send Aaron.
Sounds weird when you say it like that.
Send Aaron, pictures of nude baby penis.
No.
You got to lean into it, because as long as you're embarrassed, they're going to keep bringing out the tape at family gatherings. What you have to do is when they bring out the tape, you walk out
And
dressed
piss
as a
on your
baby
dad.
and piss on your dad again. Yeah.
Yep. Big diaper.
Yeah. Like
Big
just
diaper.
yeah, just be like
Novelty size.
and then just standing, eye contact unbroken, just pee on your dad. And they'll have another video to show.
Yeah.
And they'll be too scared to show it because of after what happened last time. My parents never explained sex to me, although I don't think it was because they were too ashamed or uptight to tell me, because they did explain homosexuality to me at a later stage. All right? Are you gay? I hope there's some explanation here. They probably thought I'd ask them if I ever wanted to know, or just figure it out on my own, which I did. But the first vivid memory I have of anything sexual related to my parents was when I was around 8 or 9 and rummaging around in my dad's old comic book collection. He's always been a big fan of Tintin, Asterix, and the other Belgian/French comics, but in this pile I found an old porn parody of Tintin. I didn't understand what it was at the time and was just weirded out before putting it back. It was only a few years later that I figured out that Tintin was doing a chambermaid doggy style, and that comic was not the result of Hergé having gone off the deep end, which was a bit traumatizing to me when the realization hit. I never brought this up with Dad, and I never will.
I will. Give me your dad's number.
Love the podcast so far. Looking forward to more. Yours truly. I don't know. He didn't say anything about not using his full name.
Just say the first name.
It says Petter, which I'm going to assume is some kind of weird Scandinavian thing. Yeah, no, we'll tell you that. Hey, yeah, your kid knew about your weird fucking knockoff Tintins where he roots.
Also, give me the weird knockoff Rudin Tintins. I need to see this. I love like knockoff stuff. I think it's fascinating.
Oh, God. There was a second email after that I clicked on thinking, oh, it'll be a new thing. And it's him again saying, by the way, please don't mention my full name, just my first name.
Well, there you go.
There
See,
you go.
I preempted it.
We fucking won that one.
It doesn't matter because, like, even
Stop. All of you have your whole fucking name.
If you screw up and say it, I'll just beep it anyway.
Yeah, I suppose.
That's what I did with Chip. I changed his last name to Nerd.
Okay.
It's fun.
All right. So this is from Robin.
Hi,
guys.
Robin.
Really enjoying the show. Because when I send an email, you can decide what goes into that thing. You know, you don't have to fucking do this to me. Because you can't put at the end, you can't put in a second email after I've read the first one, please don't use my name. Oh yeah, by the way, please don't have said my name in the thing you've already read. Yeah, we can fucking fix it, but we shouldn't have to. Think in terms of linear time, please. Really enjoying the show. Brought back some memories of watching Around the Twist reruns on CBBC in the early 2000s. If you read this one out, just use my first name, please. Christ on a bike, make it the first thing, or just don't put your name there. Well, I'll be doing that now, but I just know some point someone's going to say, please don't use my name at all. And it's just like,
please only use my last name.
Yeah, all right, Beef Hammer.
Please try to guess my middle name.
I fucking wouldn't put it past him at this point. Have you ever had to look after a baby? Not yet, but my cousin has just had a baby and I'm scheduled for a family get-together in a couple of months, which will mean interacting with him. I'm kind of nervous around babies, mainly because I get embarrassed by baby talk. I think there'd be the sort of father who holds complex philosophical discussions with my kids and ends up getting written out of their Nobel Prize money because they hate my guts. Yeah, probably.
Wait, you get Nobel Prize money?
Yeah.
I didn't know you got paid.
Cash, yeah, you get cash, you get sticks of dynamite.
Man, be right back. I'm going to win the Nobel Prize.
Yeah. Because I don't do baby talk either. I just talk to the baby with my regular voice. but like sometimes about things that might be relevant to a baby.
I talk to things in the voice I think they will have.
That's insane.
So like if like my cat,
Yeah.
both cats, I have different voices for them.
That's funny. Because like I'll just look at a baby and just be like, the world is bright and full of movement, and it's only going to get worse from here. I just, I can't think of anything else to say to him because I'm going to go blah 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 blah. Like babies already kind of look at me anyway, Like I don't need to get the baby's attention. I command baby attention. So like, that's what people do baby talk to get the baby to look at them. Whereas like most of the time I'm trying to get the fucking thing to stop staring at me like it wants to fight. I'll fight a baby. I reckon I can win that. Have you ever been thrown up on? I had some real needy housemates back in the day. Going out in the middle of the night to retrieve them after an argument with a partner kind of needy because at the time my desire for a quiet life outstripped my self-respect. This meant they began to take me for granted. Yeah. You dumbass. In Sheffield, one of the delightful features of post-war terraced housing the kind poor scumbag students live in for trivial amounts of money, so the young ones, is that the main entrance to their house is at the back. That's weird. I guess this is because they were celebrating clearing the old back-to-back slums and giving everyone a garden. The result of this is that a lot of these student houses have a bedroom where the front room should be. Such was my fate. Yeah, okay, that sucks. In the night in question, I had used the forbidden front door, I can't now remember why, and had forgotten to lock it before going to bed. My housemates had gone out. I cannot adequately express the terror of waking up at 3 a.m. to a shadowy figure bursting into your house and projectile hurling into your bedroom floor, only to have them slink off and feel sorry for themselves while you wash up. I've also been the villain in this story, admittedly. Oh, get into that last. One time I lived with a bunch of 19-year-olds who were really annoying and noisy. I was at that point 23 and working a day job, so we lived in different worlds. Until one night I inhaled a bottle of vodka at a party and came to at 4 a.m. in front of a very angry teenage housemates in a puke-covered living room. The landlords made me pay to have it professionally cleaned, and after some token groveling, I made the story about a new job in a different city and moved out due to shame. That's great.
Fantastic. I like the shame part.
I mean, it's kind of fun, yeah, like that.
I'd say also fucking, they're not very good housemates.
Yeah.
Fuck them.
Yeah.
Like everyone has moments of weakness and slash being ill from narcotics and shit.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
but you can't take, well, like they reported you to the landlord. That's fucked.
I was like, shut up, kids.
Yeah. I would have just fucking pissed on them.
I'll push you over
Pissed
and
on
sit
their
on
bed.
you. How did your parents explain
I
sex to
wouldn't
you?
really.
Mum told me early on that I'd come out of her tummy, but added insufficient details so that for years I imagined a nightmarish Cronenberg body
Is
horror.
this still the same person?
Yes.
Okay.
Involving a baby being heaved from a belly button. When I was 10 and they showed us a video of birth in school, and the reality was worse. Keep up the good work, Robin. Yeah,
Thanks, Robin.
like, it was really funny because, like, they show the baby birth and the shit to us at school, and it's like, the looks on the girl's faces is hilarious because that is just not my problem. And it can't be, and it never will be. And ha.
Never say never. Fucking who knows? Aliens might come and they might go, "Ha, we got genetic rays. Now you are pregnant."
We heard you,
With
Gabriel.
ass babies.
I know, yeah. You're gonna have lots of ass babies. Okay. Oh, good. Like, see, I wanted like a fucking positive on this. So I was hoping we are gonna get something. Okay, now I said good before I've read any of it, so I should stress that. This is from Thomas. I have had my parents talk to me about sex. I was around 8 or 9, possibly younger. I was too young for such a talk, but looking back, I do not think my parents had a choice but to tell me what sex was. Not to mention, I had asked. All right, well, that's curious. We have no choice but to explain genitals to the child.
He's noticed he has a genital.
He's noticed. I mean, like, I feel like it's not that it's like, too early. I don't think there's too early in the sense that, like, the child doesn't understand things yet, really. Like 4 or 5, they're just piecing crap together. But I feel like after it's like, yeah, that's for later, None of the fucking, the firmware is not installed for that yet. It doesn't do anything. It was close to 2 a.m. and I heard a strange squishing sound in the house. It was very loud and I had no idea what it was. I imagined some sort of slimy monster stalking through the home, about to gobble up me or my siblings. It was dark and I didn't turn on any lights, but I went downstairs to check it out anyway. I tiptoed downstairs, through the kitchen, down the hall, and found the source of the loud slurping sound was coming from my parents' room, which was just open slightly. With my parents being eaten alive, I peek in and see my mother and father in bed. I specifically remember seeing my father laying back with his hands behind his head as it rested on a pillow, a huge smile on his face while my mother had her head placed in his lap. She seemed to be going up and down, but I wasn't sure why. Okay, so we know from this, Thomas's mother gives sloppy gobbies. See,
It's like I'm going to grapefruit your man.
yeah, like that. Like, I hate to break this to you, Thomas, but you do need to know this. That means your mom was really into it. Like, it's not just about him. If them going to that kind of fucking effort, that's a
the
person.
juices running.
That's a person who's not just sucking dick because their partner likes it. That's a person who's sucking dick because they like it. So
that's the sort of salivating I get when I'm gonna, deep throat a banana. I can relate. It's like
that is
it's
like
tantalizing. It's like, yeah.
Thomas's mum chokes it back. I watched this for about a minute. You fucking creep.
Wow.
My child's brain soaking in the horror and confusion. I knew they were having sex of some kind, but at that point I thought sex was something to do with penises in butts and only butts.
That's great.
That's great. I probably did consider slinking back upstairs without saying anything, but instead in all my childhood ignorance, I loudly asked, "What are you doing?"
Excellent.
At once,
I'm so sorry, Thomas.
all at once, they pulled the blankets over themselves, turned their heads to look at me, and shouted out to me. I had not considered I would get in trouble for this, but now it seemed almost a certainty. I ran up the stairs back to my room, pulled my covers over myself, and hoped it was some sort of horrible Freudian dream. Well, not yet. Sometime later, my father calls me down in a firm voice he doesn't use unless he's angry. He's not the sort to shout. When I came down, he was sitting in his recliner, but he was not reclining. No, the exact line, I said that, but then the exact next line is, but he wasn't leaning back at all.
Oh, that's great.
He was fully dressed for work, decided still being dark for several hours. The only light in the room was a single standing lamp right behind his chair, leading to an eerie effect where I can make out his form, but his facial features were completely blackened out in shadows.
Fucked.
This is the best thing I've read. This is great. This is like you see your fucking dad getting his dick sucked mad good. And then what's his response to this?
Good.
Yeah, he's going to visit you like he's leaking important documents or he's like the head of the spy agency that doesn't have a
Giovanni
name.
of Team Rocket.
He's blasting off again.
Get me Pikachu now.
Yeah, your dad is Dr. Claw.
Next time, get it.
Aaron, the quote for this episode is, but he wasn't leaning back at all. It wasn't reclining. He asked me if I knew anything about sex. I said no, and I didn't need to know yet, but he disagreed. And I had asked what they were doing, and so I would get an answer. Good God. From there, it was a brief conversation about married couples making babies by putting their penis in the woman's vagina, all while I nodded along. It was very rudimentary and most certainly did not accurately reflect what they were doing. But there you go. Once he was finished, he told me to go to bed, got up, and went into his room without even turning off the light. I remember not turning it off myself and seeing it on the next day. Then it was never spoken about again. There was no more sucking sound the rest of the night, or ever for that matter. When I got up the next day, I realized it was my father's birthday. I did not put two and two together until years later. My parents got a divorce about a decade later, but I don't think those two things are related.
You ruined your dad's birthday nut, and now they're divorced. It all falls into place.
Yeah, it's your fault, Thomas. They were always fighting and arguing. However, I do like to tell myself that I shattered my parents' marriage with a single simple question, whose answer I was not ready to hear. That is like...
I'm sorry, man. Like, that sucks. I remember walking in on my parents.
That's funny as fuck.
They had a waterbed.
That is... See, that I understand hearing sloshing. If you can hear a dick getting sucked from other rooms in the house.
That's too loud.
Yeah, like I've lived in share houses that have more people in them than shouldn't be there. And, a lot of the time couples. And, it was a house full of bar staff. So, like, sometimes people were just getting their dick sucked on the couch. And it's like, you still couldn't hear it. You'd walk in on it precisely because it was rather, it was otherwise like, again, if someone is sucking a dick to the point where you can hear it from rooms over, they are sucking that thing like they have a terminal illness and the cure is in your dad's balls.
I don't think I could take that much suction.
I don't think I could, but I'm game to find out.
I don't like getting my dick sucked because...
Hey, Tom, how's your mum?
I have a very sensitive head. So the sensitivity just keeps ramping up.
It's wild that you've got a hypersensitive head but you're circumcised. Because normally it's the other way around.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I've got like...
God, imagine if you weren't circumcised.
Bro, I'd be screwed.
It'd probably be impossible. It'd be one of those, like, you'd have like that syndrome that women get sometimes where they just come all the time. Except you'd just be like, you wouldn't even have any like sperm left. You'd just be
fuck, that would suck. I'd blow
Yeah.
through it.
yeah, you'd just be unloading like fucking clean, blanks and shit.
Got any more? We got any more
Oh
in the
yeah,
chamber?
we got a few more.
We got time for our 1 to 2 more.
Christ in a buck. Yeah, like. All right.
This one's running long.
This is from Ian. Greetings, testy twisters. Long time, first time fan here. If you don't mind, I prefer not to have my full name used. You can just call me Ian. I'm calling you Glands. So now to answer the questions of the hour. Yes, I have. Have I ever looked after a baby? Yes. When I was a child, my mum did too much crack, and the rest of my relatives confiscated me from her. All right.
Holy shit. Okay. That came out of the gate.
If you're basing this on an episode of The Wire, I will know. So just know that. Legally kidnapping, but what was she going to do? Call the cops? She couldn't afford the cops. She was on crack. After that, for a few years, I was passed around the family. Keep in mind that it was an Irish Catholic family, and my great-grandma had 13 kids before she stopped. Yeah, so there were plenty of people to watch me. Fast forward a few years when I'm 5, and one of my earliest memories is being told by one of my uncles that he's going to go to the store, and I got to watch his baby. So I sit there and watch the baby for a few hours. It gets dark outside, and I'm still watching this baby. Turns out he'd gotten pulled over for a DUI and hadn't made it back, which we learned when my aunt got home from work to find me drawing and the baby still in the crib from nap time. Have I ever been thrown up on? I'm just going to go, yeah, you probably got some gnarly vomit stories with crack mum. Also, yes, several times, but the funniest one that's not just I was in the car when a sibling got car sick is the time it happened during midnight dodgeball. That sounds fun. When I was in high school, I loved playing dodgeball, and one of the parks in Seattle hosted midnight dodgeball on their tennis courts. During one of these games, I was playing and doing well, but one of the other team had a real fast ball throw. He tried to get me with it, but I dodged it somehow, only for it to go directly into the unprepared stomach of the girl behind me, causing her to double over and puke the milkshake she just drank before the game onto my shoes and pants. I feel like Seattle's midnight dodgeball should have like fluorescent lights around. It should be very vaporwave. That's what I'm hearing in my head when I think midnight.
Yeah, and we could have like the ball could be like neonish.
Yeah.
And we could, that would be so cool. It'd be sick. You could make it like a really visual spectacle and not have cool sound pumping.
And not tell anybody
stuff.
about it. Because like you want to get some participants, but you want people to discover it just by walking by and seeing this insane hyper 80s
kind of like the drum
fluoro.
circles they have over in the US. Just to have like those, but like
just find them.
Yeah.
3. How did my parents explain sex to you? So after the whole being passed around deal, I got actually adopted by one of my biological mum's sisters who was sick of the other idiots in the family fucking up. She's raised me pretty well and roughly without incident. Some childhood embarrassments, but nothing too bad. It was a good house, lots of books and art and Legos. My parents were active and engaged and made sure that I was aware of the world I lived in. We protested the war in Afghanistan and I got to stay up until midnight to see if Bush was going to take us to war with Iraq. I had a transgender uncle and a gay aunt, so I was aware of those lifestyles early on. All right, look, this is all nice. Literally all of these things are connected by a comma. So you need to learn periods. So when she and my adopted father gave me the talk, it was pretty normal until they asked me if I had any questions, and my young brain had to know. I want you to take both of your hands and hold them up, curl all but the pointer fingers in, and then bump the pointers together. And now you have the action my dumb ass did when I asked my parents, so did gay people do it like this? So I think he tried to dock, but like...
That's what it sounds like, yeah.
I mean, you can do like a double team jack off if, there's an intimacy to that, I'd imagine, I mean, you'd be really good at that because you got really big grip. You'd be able to do like 3 dicks.
I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, you
I'm not. Depends how big they are.
I'm not saying you're gonna get a full C clip over the lot. Like, there's gonna be space, that you're gonna be getting the fingertips around one end and then the thumb. I mean, like like that, like an open grip, not like a full I
can't even jack myself off because of my fucking wrist and shit, my rotator cuff. So I'm not in the state to be jacking many men.
All right, well that's a bummer.
Yeah,
because like I do reckon you could jack. I mean, I recommend you could jack 3 guys off, but I also reckon you could jack 3 guys off at once.
Well, I mean, that's what we'll do on the fucking dodgeball court. What are you talking about? That's the halftime show.
Hey, everybody. Gather round.
Time out.
Timeout.
Hudd around.
What happens at timeout? I jack 3 guys off.
We form a circle with our dicks.
What's happening?
It's a circle jerk.
Why has the music changed from vaporwave to synth noir?
No, you know what song it is? It's the fucking Zorba dance,
That's the saber dance, but yeah.
No, not saber dance. It sounds very similar.
The Zorba, the Greek, yeah.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, because it has that. It starts slow,
Yeah.
which is
and then it
exactly
builds
how
up.
you want to go with this.
Yep.
All right, well, we're gonna. There are a few leftover ones. There's probably about 3 left, but we're sort of going over already, so we'll save those for next time.
Catch your own.
Feel free to like add some dogpile to our work by, answering the questions at ihavefeltlikethis@yahoo.com. It's all lowercase, and you can harass Aaron on Twitter somewhere.
At KEC Aaron on Twitter, and we're at keepitclassy.com.
And I'm Gabriel on guard without the E at the end on Twitter.
And we are the Long Lost Twist Boys, and you have felt like this.